There's no reason to use Paraquat in Oklahoma. We already have the method by which we do it. It's a lot better method than leaving paraquatted plants out in the field for a harvester to come along and get later.
One of the individuals, Herbert Dale Durbin, was a wanted fugitive from Texas. We thereupon arrested Durbin, took him back to the car, and was in the process of having him place his hands on the car and make a search before he handcuffed him when the suspect broke away and ran south and under the bridge. The officer in pursuit, yelling for him to stop. The officer then fired one shot, and Durbin fell from that one shot. He was taken to St. Anthony. The latest I've heard is that
It's one of the things, that we have always thought we do a very good job at, of reviewing the conduct of our own, because we best understand what others are expected to do in a similar circumstance. But the officer was definitely entitled to and will get a good hearing before, he disappears. I mean, it's...
Glass of tea with him.
First of all, an order filler to fill the order. Then you have to have the packers to pack it up. Then you have to have stockmen to put stock away. And then you got your checkers, you got your receivers, and your truck drivers. If none of these people, the system breaks down, they don't get anything out of here. And that's lost to the company. That's about it in a nutshell, because it just starts at the bottom and works its way up.
How long are those appeals pending?
There's some of them going into effect now that have been heard. Some in Fate will never have any bargaining power from what they're wanting right now. They're not even wanting to negotiate, I guess, contracts with the FAA. And for the controllers to support a union, well, they're going to have a union that will strive for the things that PATCO strove for, the better working conditions and safer conditions.
please.
We were informed by Blythe Thomas calling out of Senator Nichols' office this afternoon that Senator Nichols had visited with Secretary Watt, and Secretary Watt had indicated that it looked like the planning for this year that Concho would be open for the remainder of the year. Now that's a verbal commitment. We haven't seen anything in writing.
Heard the motion. All in favor, vote aye. Aye. Opposed? Interim President Morris. Recommendations on page 14. Interim President Morris recommends approval of the personnel action listed above.
This is Terry Dean. Terry teaches American history at Yukon High School and is also the head basketball coach. He feels that he is competent in the subject he teaches, but according to recently released test scores, 68% of prospective teachers that would like to have a similar job are not qualified to teach. Officials blame the poor results on inadequate course requirements, poor preparation, poor textbooks, and a large number of prospective coaches choosing social studies as their teaching field. But Terry feels that if these new teachers are not good enough in the classroom, they'll never make it in athletics.
There's no question about it. I was hired as a basketball coach. But they're not, I feel like it goes hand in hand. If you don't do a good job in the classroom, then I don't feel like you're going to do a good job on the practice floor either.
Terry Dean, like most coaches, loves athletics. But teaching and coaching at the high school level is a simple matter of economics. Teaching history here pays about $17,000 a year. But the basketball only pays about $3,000 a year. And Terry knows which of those careers will put dinner on the table. In Yukon, Kurt Autry, Action 4.
The new method is designed to scare the birds away permanently. It's called the Thunderbird Scare Away Gun, and it works off a propane tank system. Now, the noise is supposed to frighten the birds out of their nesting roosts that has been giving the Walters so much trouble. The birds themselves, the cattle egrets, are not even a native of North America, but were imported and have now decided on Bethany, Oklahoma as their home.
Well, we can't use our backyard at all, and it used to be the odor was the worst part of it, but now it's getting to be the noise at night. They seem to come alive more at night than they are during the day, and you hear them all night long, the screaming and screeching, you know. It's just gotten to be hard to sleep.
The Fish and Wildlife Department are the ones responsible for the scareaway system, and they hope it will do the trick. But Mother Nature will also have to play a part in ridding the area of the birds.
In this case here, we may fortunately be able to move the birds in a week because season-wise, they're beginning to get ready to go south anyway. This may prompt them into going a little quicker. But that's the only way we're going to solve immediately this problem here.
As soon as the birds leave, all the nests in the area will be knocked down in case the egrets decide to travel back to the Sooner State when warmer weather returns. But that's something the Walters hope never happens again. Kevin Ogle, Action 4 in Bethany.
Well, we really don't know what happened yet. He was on takeoff. It was a test hop flight, and Bob's a test pilot. And it looks like he became airborne a little ways and came back down, and then he ejected shortly before it crashed. But maybe a possibility of the outer wing fold collapsed on him.
Now we are engaged in the warfare of right and wrong, and particularly at this moment there is on the ballot next Tuesday an issue which involves right and wrong. The issue is that of gambling. Well, that last commandment says, "Thou shalt not covet." And the coveting of your neighbor's goods, Jesus put in the New Testament to say this way, "Love your neighbor as yourself." And when we want what is our neighbor's and we take what is our neighbor's by fraud or by theft or by gambling, we become a participant in that commandment.
But another pastor says parimutuel betting in Oklahoma would mean a boost to the state's economy in the form of revenue and jobs.
You can see parimutuel horse racing not hurting anyone, but really doing what Jesus wanted us to do, to see that we provide a good quality of life for all of the people in our domain.
Besides theology, religious leaders who oppose parimutuel gambling give two reasons. First, they say it could lead to a rise in crime. Second, they worry people could become addicted to gambling and hurt themselves and their families by losing too much.
Supporters of parimutuel betting say church leaders who oppose it fail to see that the benefits outweigh the costs. They argue parimutuel betting means more money for the state, not more crime. And they maintain the number of people who can't control their desire to gamble is small.
Tomorrow night, we'll find out what Governor Nigh and his Republican opponent, Tom Daxon, have to say about parimutuel betting. And we'll take a close look at the wording of State Question 553, the petition that will be on the ballot next Tuesday. I'm Bill Ross.
Presented one at a time. I just think it's kind of special to give the first one to a great artist and a great friend and the envy of a great number of people, Mr. Greg Burns. Right?
Here's a check for $75.
Well, I certainly appreciate it.
Got the job course in, okay?
I've always had good neighbors all my life, but I never needed them as badly as I do now.
The OU Health Sciences Center is home for dozens of stray dogs and cats. The unwanted animals are the subjects of medical investigators searching for cancer and heart disease cures. In the past, the university has bought the dogs and cats from dealers who purchased the animals from municipal dog pounds. OU now wants to buy the strays directly from the Oklahoma City dog pound for $15 apiece. That move would save the researchers up to $70 per animal.
They're putting to sleep something like 18,000 dogs and cats every year. I could supply all of the university needs with something like 1,000 of those. So 1 out of every 18. And these are unclaimed and unwanted animals. These are not pets. These are animals that no one has a desire for. So those are the ones we really need.
It's a waste of life.
Pet lovers like Helen Flanagan plan to protest the proposal.
Our basic objection is the use of animals which have been pets and are used to a human environment, to put them into a laboratory environment and submit them to painful experiments and to the stress they feel. They feel much more than an animal which has never known human contact.
One suggestion has been to earmark the $15 research fee for the city's animal neutering clinic. That move would drastically reduce the number of unwanted pets put to sleep each year. Scott Wallace, Action 4 at the OU Health Sciences Center.
It'll mean more money to the community, more jobs, more restaurant help, more everything. More to us personally here will mean more mares bred to our good stallions, will mean better prices for our horses, will mean better in every respect. There's just no negative at all.
Active, pickets. Interactive to 0.
I don't understand why there's only one option. I don't understand why they couldn't tell the carrier to sign the contract without the no-strike clause. They know that we cannot strike for another 18 months. It takes that long to go through the process.
The search for cancer cures has involved countless hours in the laboratory and millions of dollars from public and private sources. Progress has been made, but so far no recognized cure is in sight. Some unconventional doctors believe now that everyday stress can cause cancer, and that by working on the causes of stress, as well as the physical ailments, they can turn the tide on cancer or just about any other disease. It's called holistic medicine. And one of its strongest proponents, Dr. O. Carl Simonton, was in Oklahoma City today. He says his beliefs are supported by history.
Some of the earlier research is pointing that one of the mechanisms is that when a person is emotionally depressed, they're also physically depressed at the cellular level. This plays a role in both the development and course of malignancy. Theoretically, this is an area that is crying for intensive research.
That lack of research bothers other doctors who say some of Simonton's ideas are pretty good.
I think where we've run into problems has been where patients have tended to abandon other forms of therapy in the hopes that this therapy alone will take care of them, and that has been occasionally a problem.
While research continues, the doctors agree that cancer is unpredictable. What works in one instance may not work in another. They both want to find the answers they can, whether they're controversial or conventional. Charles Schnetzer, Action 4.
One of the reasons for that, there was plenty of supervision today. But since nightfall, the parking staff has gone home and left it up to the drivers to find their own way. Talking to the attendants, security has been tight through the first day of fair activities, not a lot of vandalism. And most of the drivers trying to find a place to park have presented no real problems. They are warning motorists to keep off the grass as much as possible and not park in the street, or they will be towed away. The police traffic department and several REACT radio operators are involved in the surveillance and will be working through the course of the fair.
I can't speak as to the wisdom, but it is my firm conviction that if he were placed in this position again, that it could very easily kill him.
There's been many of these cases in which there's been fairly elderly men made decisions to tell all that they know and reveal a great deal of the activity that was even unbeknownst to the government and cooperate, and those people have come before the court and pled guilty, and many of their sentences the courts have taken their age and other factors and cooperation and consideration. So that's for each individual to decide.
The CETA program is job training. 40 to 50 people are trained each day in the Oklahoma City CETA office alone. 96% of them will find work. Thousands of Oklahomans depend on CETA for employment, but CETA is facing an almost certain death. The program runs out of money next week, and a new jobs training bill is being considered. The new bill would mean big changes for CETA, a new name for the program, reorganization at the administrative level, a new emphasis placed on private employment, and a possible merging of rural CETA programs. The changes are met with mixed emotion by CETA Director Danny Terrell.
So I'm just hoping that there be some flexibility in the bill that will deal with the various needs in the country. See, what Detroit needs is not necessarily what Oklahoma City needs, and things of that nature. So flexibility, as long as flexibility is in the bill and we're allowed to do that, I think that we can make it work.
Terrell says if the jobs bill works, there will be jobs for the people. Debbie Mash, Action 4 in downtown Oklahoma City.
The city of Edmond has grown so fast that 31,000 cars now travel the Broadway Extension compared to a projected 19,000. At rush hour, it's bumper to bumper. Each day, it gets worse. The mayor even talked about a toll as a possible solution to raise money for road improvements. But the Department of Transportation says the Broadway Extension isn't the problem. By widening such streets as Western, Kelly, Eastern, and Bryant, people could use an alternate north-south route. Those streets are now 2 lanes. By widening them to 4, it would ease the tremendous number of cars using the Broadway Extension. Of course, the state wouldn't have to pay for improvements to those roads like it would the Broadway Extension, but transportation officials firmly believe the 2-lane Broadway Extension shouldn't be blamed for Edmond's traffic problems.
It's important that you not rely on simply one particular route, that the entire system, the highways, the local streets, the section line roads be developed so that each one complements the other. And that, of course, has to be done not only by the state but by the local jurisdictions involved in administering those road programs.
Of course, that means the City of Edmond would have to pass a bond issue or come up with some other means to finance the program.
So, the Department of Transportation feels that Edmond should face up to its growing pains and quit relying on the Broadway Extension as the only access into this booming town. Bella Shaw, Action 4 in Edmond.
Meet Mac and Hazel Johnson. They've been working at the State Fair of Oklahoma 53 years. Their duties are to keep the Kiddieland area of the fair spick and span. They say they like what they're doing, and they're thankful they've got a job.
You can't get a job nowhere else, you know. They can't take insurance on us.
Not at this
regardless of how good you are, they can't hire you. So we work here, and they know us. We've been working here a long time, and I appreciate it.
Mr. Johnson says a lot of things have changed at the State Fair since they first started working here, including the pay.
When I started here, it was only 10 cents an hour. And when we didn't work in the day, we had to work at night, sweeping the street and cleaning all these buildings and things. Nowadays, you got to pay you $3.35, see, but it's all about the same thing. Back in that time, I get a loaf of bread for a nickel, and now it costs me $1 and something. See, you ain't got nothing out of it right on.
Even though they're not making a lot of money, the pay does help them make ends meet. Oh, by the way, the Johnsons have been married 47 years and have raised 7 children. They're thankful for a lot of things, especially that they're still physically able to work. Ben McCain, Action 4 at the State Fairgrounds.
Probably wouldn't even feel it. Pharmacy. The chief of staff. That was D-man. Yeah.
We've had a lot of questions, but to our knowledge, no reports around this area. Now, the general recall will be sent out to all the pharmacies and physicians in this area as well as everywhere to recall that lot. At that time, the lots will be sent back to McNeil. So only until then will we know whether or not there's any lots in this area.
Local stores began pulling the bottles of extra-strength Tylenol off their shelves early in the morning. The 2 largest grocery store chains in the state, Safeway and Humpty, were given the order by their district office. Others voluntarily removed the capsule after the bad bottles appeared in the state. Don't be concerned if you notice an extra-strength Tylenol box still on the shelves. There are 2 such products, the tablets and liquid form, that are remaining in circulation. It appears only the capsules have been laced with cyanide. If you have a bottle of extra-strength Tylenol capsules at home, you should check the upper right corner of the label for these numbers: MC 2880, MD 1910, and MY 2738. On the other hand, if you have a bottle from the suspected lot and you have taken some of the Tylenol, the Oklahoma City Poison Control Center says you should go immediately to an emergency room. Only 1 person in the state of Oklahoma has reported possible side effects from the capsules. That call came to Ron Spencer, Director of Food Protection for the State Health Department. His office has received over 200 calls concerning Tylenol. But he's glad because, in his opinion, Oklahomans have reason to be worried.
People should be scared until this problem is cleared up, see where it's getting in the product or whatever. Because, again, your bottle may not have it in, and again, it may have 1. If it's much in there, 1 can be fatal, as you're aware of it in the Chicago area.
Health officials recommend the use of any of the many extra-strength Tylenol substitutes until the problem is cleared up. Sherry Sellers, Action 4.
She told Mrs. Connor that she was just afraid of what she might do to David, that the demons were in her. That's what she said, her exact words. But Miss Connor, she's got an elderly lady living there with her, and she was afraid what might happen to them.